necessary to conduct the attack that we saw on the 11th. We haven't yet publicly identified the organization we believe was responsible. But when you look at the list of candidates, one resides in that region. So without waiting for the whole body of evidence to be ready for us to make a judgment and a presentation to you, I think we're acting in a prudent way by talking to those governments in the region.
Now, when explicitly asked if, in fact, Secretary Powell was alluding to Osama bin Laden, he said yes. Pakistan has been high on the U.S. agenda. Secretary Powell says he expects to speak with the Pakistani president later today. His deputy met again for the second time in 24 hours with the U.S. ambassador to Pakistan here in Washington. There have been meetings in Islamabad. So, Aaron, what we're seeing right now, this is one part of the diplomatic puzzle, is the U.S. beginning to tighten the noose around Afghanistan. We're told that in the meeting this morning here at the State Department, the Pakistani ambassador was presented with a list of what the U.S. expects, concrete actions that the Pakistanis must take. Unfortunately, we don't have details on that right now, Aaron.
Andrea, thank you. Andrea Koppel at the State Department. She works the diplomatic side of this. Back to this possibility that a building has collapsed or maybe about to collapse. Adam Reese is the CNN producer who's in the area. And Adam, I believe you're on the phone, aren't you?
Yes, Aaron. I am reporting to you from the Office of Emergency Management, just a block north of where the World Trade Center was. And we are hearing from police officers here on site that they are being instructed to leave the area. The building just south of the World Financial Center, we believe, is the American Express Merrill Lynch building, and we believe that is possibly going to collapse very soon. And just let me preface that with, we believe it may. We are seeing smoke come from windows about mid-building, and the smoke believes to be emanating from the windows. It is going from floor to floor, higher and higher. I don't know why they believe this building is about to collapse. They have had warnings when previous buildings were going to collapse. And that's just the situation here. They have been pulled back. Emergency workers have been pulled back from that area, and that's where it stands. Aaron?
Adam, if you could see the building, I assume you can. You can see the smoke. How big a building are we talking about?
I am looking at it from the rear. Again, we are just outside the building where AM is doing their business. Inside the building, a makeshift hospital, makeshift IV, stretchers, beds, also beds for all the workers. Every floor of that building, just to give you an idea, the amount of people down here involved in this rescue effort. And again, regarding the building that we believe may collapse, it's still standing. I see smoke emanating from the windows, and that's about all I can tell you. I have just a narrow view of the side of the building from my location.
So is it a large skyscraper? I think it's what I'm trying to figure out here. Are we talking 60, 70 stories?
I'm hoping that you can see it at some point soon. These are the two buildings that are equal in height, just west of where the World Trade Center was standing. This is what's called the World Financial Center, and again, headquarters to American Express and Merrill Lynch. Fairly new buildings in regards to the World Trade Center. I don't know exactly when they were built, but they are much newer than the World Trade Center was.
And do you have any sense of, can you see people moving out of the area? Are they rushing out of the area? Is it a fairly calm evacuation? Just give me what you can see here.
Some of the rescue workers are calm. I did see several officers who are a bit nervous, and you can clearly see their anxiety. These officers were the ones that were most likely closest to that building who were asked to evacuate, and they are describing to fellow officers their high concern about the building and the fact that they were so close to it before they got this warning.
And just again for me, Adam, can you tell me the building's proximity to the Trade Center itself?
Literally across the street from where it was, just a bit south on the West Side Highway. It is basically towards the southernmost end of Manhattan, what we here call the Battery. And if we're looking north from, say, Liberty Island, where the Statue of Liberty is, or Ellis Island, you would clearly be able to see it. It is one of the southernmost buildings on the island of Manhattan.
Adam, stay on the phone. Don't go away here. Many of you may remember late yesterday afternoon there was a concern about another building in the area just a bit north of where the collapsed building number 7 was. We were down there at the time. We could see windows or pieces of glass facing to the building coming off. That was One Liberty Plaza. That's on the right side of your screen. And they moved people out at that time. There are a couple of points to make here, and forgive me if they're frighteningly obvious. The problems here, number one, are safety issues. You got to get all the rescue workers away from there. Every time one of these buildings seems to be maybe ready to come down. And the other problem is if these buildings don't come down, and yet they are so unstable that they might, at what point is it safe to move people back in? So, and if you have to bring the building down yourself, is that an operation that's going to have to be undertaken? So there are a multitude of problems that exist down there, and the end result of all of it is it slows down. It doesn't stop it, but it slows down the effort to get in there and find whoever may still be in one of these air pockets, or as we learned today, in an SUV with the 5 firefighters that were pulled out. It slows the effort to get to the survivors, if in fact there are survivors left. So the situation down by the Trade Center and the blocks around it, and Gary Tuchman yesterday reported that the damage, extensive damage, extends 10 blocks from the Trade Center. Some of the buildings destroyed, many of them just damaged, tremendous amount of structural instability, and all of that is causing problems. Adam, are you still on the phone? Adam, okay, for the moment we've lost Adam. We'll try and get him back and see if he can update us on that. Just one quick observation before we move on. It strikes me today that the city is unbelievably tense. There have been a number of evacuations we've told you about of buildings. There's a real sense of fear, in some cases, of anger building at what's going on. It's been a very long and difficult week for everyone here in the city, everyone who lives here, everyone who loves it, as it has been for people around the country. The tension level here just struck me. There's nothing scientific about this, folks. It's just a feeling that things here are fraying a bit as people begin to realize that normal, or what psychologists in these situations refer to as the new normal, because what was normal in New York City, what was normal in Washington, what was normal in the country in many ways, will never quite be the same. And so we search for what the new normal is. People are beginning to realize that that new normal is going to take some time to get to. And in the meantime, we've got a lot of stress and fear and anxiety that's being dealt with. And every time one of these things happens, the possibility of a building collapsing, as we have with the American Express building, which is being evacuated, the people around it out. We went through the same thing with One Liberty Plaza yesterday. Every time that happens, every time there's a crank call somewhere or anything like it, it just raises the anxiety level. It frays the nerves yet again. And I dare say it makes people a little bit angry, or maybe more than a little bit angry. And now, 3 days later, it's palpable. You just kind of feel it out there today, down below on the streets. People are frustrated and tired and angry, and want to know where we as a city, where the city of New York goes next. Marty Savage has been covering for us today the rescue of firefighters down on the scene. Marty, do you have new developments on that, or is it something else?
Well, basically, Aaron, we can report to you the situation regarding this building. We cannot verify what Adam has said. He's obviously quite accurate. What we can tell you, though, is that the activity out here on the West Side Highway, which is one of the main thoroughfares for all the emergency equipment, has been brought to a standstill here. So it appears that something is going on. There also have been some talk earlier in the day coming from the site that there were at least 2 buildings that were considered so unstable that the thought, at least, was being given to the prospect of possibly purposefully bringing them down, either by triggering some explosives or other means, because just as you point out, the threat of that hanging over the heads of rescuers is a problem, a serious problem, and they need to try to resolve it one way or another. Now, last night there were engineers that were literally going through many of the buildings surrounding the area where the Twin Towers did stand there for the World Trade Center, trying to verify what was the structural integrity. The Liberty One Plaza building was one building that got the okay. They said it is all right. Suffered a lot of damage, but it is not in danger of falling down. Other buildings, though, that they said could be potentially threatened were building number 5 out of the World Trade Center complex, and also the Millennium Hotel. So there has been this concern. It's been an ongoing concern. We already had a number of collapses yesterday, and there has even been talk that despite the fact that a building maybe on the outside could look rather fit, that it could actually be very much unsound, especially if the lower floors have been damaged to a severe degree, or any of the major support structures. Then on the other hand, there are buildings that look extremely damaged, like the Verizon building that has a huge hole in the front of it, and yet they are deemed to be structurally sound. So appearances are not all what they seem to be when you look out at the devastation here, Aaron.
Marty, stay where you are. You seem to have a terrific vantage point of what's going on. So just stay with me. Let me go back to Adam Reese on the telephone. Adam, you're at the emergency command post. What are you hearing, and what can you tell us?
Aaron, I can second what Marty just said. These two buildings certainly look structurally sound. However, the smoke continues to come out of the windows, and police, like I said before, have moved back, and they are all looking up, it appears in anticipation of a collapse. Yet at this point, the building continues to stand. What I can tell you is the smoke continues to move through this area. Police continue to move out all the gear that they had in that area, because they were making some progress in terms of evacuating some of the debris. We see dozens and dozens of cadaver dogs coming through this area. I spoke to one of the owners of a cadaver dog earlier. These cadaver dogs are highly sensitive. They can pick up any body part. They can pick up something as small as a nail. And so obviously they're being diverted at every movement. As far as this building is concerned, still status quo. We see smoke continuing to emanate from those same windows about midway up, and it appears to be a structurally sound building. But as Marty said, with the collapse of the towering World Trade Center, the stability of the ground underneath these buildings is precarious. And so we're keeping an eye on it. Aaron?
It seems to be a structurally sound building with smoke coming out of it. That's not a very healthy sign. Martin Savage, pick up where you are with what you can tell us.
Well, we're still trying to make note, Aaron, of activity going on now. We watched the streets sort of being cleared for a fire truck to make its way down the West Side Highway here. There is no pandemonium here. There is no one screaming, get back, anything like that. And there are a lot of people that are in the immediate area, at least where we are. So we are about, I would say, 5 blocks away. And so if there is a sense of disaster about the strike, it is not felt here. One of the things I can point out about what Adam was reporting regarding the search for remains, the ability to try to identify. I was talking with some of those that worked all last night, and they're digging in there, in some cases literally digging with a shovel and turning up the earth. In every particular case, every shovelful of dirt that they dig up, it is then placed into a barrel, and then that dirt is sifted through, looking for any sign of evidence and any sign of human remains that could be used to help identify. That's how thorough they are being, and that is how hopeful they are that they will try to identify as many people as they can. But it also shows you just how long that process could take when every shovelful has to be looked through. Aaron?
Marty, thank you. You guys keep an eye on things, and we'll get back to you as things develop at the American Express building. But again, the building's being evacuated, and the concern is that it's going down. CNN's Bob Franken is at the Pentagon. Bob, good afternoon to you. What do you have?
Well, Aaron, I wanted to tell you a moment ago you were talking about how normal is changing so much in the United States now. And I was fascinated by the conversation you had a while ago with our national security